So, we will explore a text only literary analysis for the machine stops. Now, this would mean that we are going to identify a central idea and then talk about how one writing strategy, so those would be all the literary elements that we've just been going over, how one of those writing strategies develops the central idea. And remember that your audience is going to be someone who has already read the story, so we don't really need to summarize it too much. Now we'll brainstorm some central ideas. All right, let's try to get creative. I have technology will result in the death of personal relationships and the nuclear family unit. And then I might say this is developed through E.M. Forster's use of characterization. And then I would talk about Vashti. You could also say point of view. Um, and I'll kind of show you how. The story, wait, we'll say this. Forrester narrates the story from Vashti's point of view, revealing her, we can say, irritated view of her only child. I mean, that's not good, right? Um, she has a ir she has she views her son as an inconvenience to her. She views her son as an inconvenience in the way of her ultimate goal of being isolated in the machine's technological grasp. And that would be an example how I use a literary element to support my central idea. But if this was a full essay, right, you would expand these. So your introduction would give a little background of the story. We'll do that. All right, hold on. So, yeah. People relying too heavily on technology will result in the destruction of humanity. All right. And then I would say this central idea is developed through the author's use of, we can say setting, because all of humankind lives inside a technological underground bunker of sorts. And I didn't say the machine yet. I will explain that. And that's what you would explain in the body of your essay, how the setting, um, everyone's living inside of this and no one knows how to fix it. That is part of the setting that you could say part of the setting is that education is severely lacking. At some point, the system involved in educating humanity collapsed. And then the next one, world leaders cannot rely on technology for basic governance. And with this, we could say this is developed through the story's conflict. The protagonist, Vashti, is living in a world where the government became complacent with, we'll just say complacent. And then we'll go on to say that the government stopped being innovative. No one had any new ideas. The government stopped being able to provide for the people because there weren't any qualified members to provide the services. So you can say, we can say, is living in a world where the government became complacent with technological advancements. And then we can say Vashti's conflict begins when the machine starts to malfunction, leaving her and the rest of society helpless to survive because they can't survive without it. So we could say this is the government's failure. Like people rely on the government to provide services, protection, safety, all of these environmental protections, obviously. So we could say where the government has become complacent. There. So those would be three examples of central ideas that we can expand into an essay. Now, for these three central ideas, you would basically have the same exact introduction paragraph. So in any introduction paragraph for a literary analysis, we would begin like this. So here would be our perfecting the thesis. It's an argument where we make a claim about a topic and then we're going to justify this claim with specific evidence. So for example, the setting is a specific evidence that um, if we rely too heavily on technology, we're going to forget how to take care of ourselves. And that's exactly what happens in this story's setting. All right, so your introduction, and it will be a brief. I'm going to make this a double side here. Oops, I'm going to split our cell. Okay, so any introduction, I will begin with author, title, publication. Okay, data publication. E.M. Forster's short story, The Machine Stops, was published in 1909 and remains a science fiction classic. Bam, hook, line, and sinker. Okay. Now it's, I got ahead of myself. Then we want to introduce our story, setting, characters, protagonists, all that conflict. Forster opens the story describing the protagonist, Vashti, sitting in a, let's see, how do we want to word this? Sitting in a small hexagonal room with minimal furnishings. All right, sitting in a small room with radiant lighting and minimal furnishings. She is described as being white as fungus, which, wait, I don't want to go to too much. Wait, so this is our introduction, right? So I will say she receives a phone call from her son, we'll say a video call. She receives a video call from her son through her cell. No, wait, that sounds like cell phone. Wait, through her room's technological fixtures. There we go. And he requests that she come visit him in person. And then we can say the story's rising action begins when Vashti reveals her internal conflict, which consists of extreme anxiety about leaving her room in the machine. Forster builds a futuristic setting where all the characters reside underneath the Earth's surface. Forster built a futuristic setting where all the characters reside underneath the Earth's surface and have all their needs met through a system, we'll say a bunker like system known to the people as the machine. And then, wait, I'm going to put this here, leaving her room. Forrester builds a futuristic setting where all the characters reside underneath their surface and have all their needs met through a bunker like system known as the machine. So, this is an intro example. I'm building the world, okay? I'm not getting too detailed. I'm getting a little detailed, but not too much. And remember that this intro will go with one of those central ideas, and I'll paste it up there so we can see it. Let's see. And here, let's finish it up here because it's going to pair with one of these. Let's see here. Now, as we get towards the end of it, then we need to be a little more specific, okay? So if I'm going to choose, the technology will be the death of the family. I think I will just go with this. The people relying too heavily on technology will result in the destruction of humanity. That's going to be my thesis I go with. So, as I come here, we should say Vashti conflict, the story's rising action. Once, despite her anxiety, Vashti ventures to the Earth's surface and travels in an airship to see her son. We'll say Vashti ventures to the Earth's surface and makes an uncomfortable, we'll say, and makes and takes an awkwardly uncomfortable journey to her son's room in the machine. We'll say awkwardly uncomfortable journey on an airship. And then if we can say we don't want to give away too much, but we're leading up to our thesis about how technology will be on her journey there and back. The reader catches a glimpse. We'll say the reader catches an ominous view of what can happen if society grows too dependent on technology. And then my thesis can be The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster is meant to serve as a warning to readers that technological advancements do not always equate positively with societal goals, with society's goals. And society's goals would be thriving, healthy relationships, healthy food, people feeling fulfilled, people being able to explore nature, people having free will, not being assigned a mate, all of these things. So this could be an introduction to any, not any, well, if you tweaked the sentence leading up to the thesis, really it could be, as long as you have a sentence or two before the thesis. If you're going to go with the technology exploration being the destruction of humanity, or if you're going to focus specifically on Vashti and her how technology made her kind of a bad mother. You could explore that, but you would set it up, whatever your thesis is, a sentence or two, making it unique. But this would be your typical introduction for a literary analysis.